Okay. Um, the next topic that we're going to talk about is cranial nerve number 8, the vestibular cochlear nerve. We're going to talk about the vestibular system. And so the slides that I want you to focus on for this upcoming final are the following. Slide 4, slides, slides 2, 4, 6, 7, 11, 13, 14, and slide 20. Okay, so what's slide 2? Just I want you to be familiar with the basic function of the vestibular cochlear nerve. That is, the vestibular division is involved in terms of position and movements of the head in space. It moves eyes with head or fixed eyes while moving the head. And then clinical signs. And so impairment of the vestibular division is you're going to see loss of balance, dizziness, vertigo, and inappropriate nystagmus. That's the rapid eye movement. Okay, slide 4. And so the different components of the vestibular system are shown here. And so you have the 3 semicircular canals, the posterior, anterior, and a lateral semicircular canal. The vestibule, what's not shown is 2 other structures that are associated with the vestibular system. So the vestibular system is located in the same area as the cochlea in terms of the middle ear. Slide 6 shows all the components of the vestibular system. They're also referred to as the otolith organs. And so here you see the semicircle ducts, the anterior, the posterior, and the horizontal, which I call lateral. Also, the ampule, the semicircle canals. In addition, 2 other structures, the utricle and the saccule. These are all part of the semicircular, the otolith organs of the vestibular system. So let's turn to slide 7. Slide 7 talks a little bit more. As you look at the ampule, you blow that up, and what you see here are these receptor cells. They're very similar to what you saw with the stereocilia that are associated with the cochlear nucleus. And so on top of these stereocilia specialized cells is something called a cupula. And what the cupula does is that there's fluid within the semicircular canal, and it's going to cause the cupula to move either away from, if you were to blow this up, you'll see that there is this chylocilium, which is the larger cilium part of this specialized cell. When it moves towards it, it's going to activate and produce depolarization. So in a movement like so towards the chylocilium, you get depolarization. So as the cupula moves towards that, as it moves away from the chylocilium, you get hyperpolarization, and where you're not going to generate an action potential. Okay, and so I need you to be aware of that. Let's turn to slide number 11. So the central connections associated with the vestibular system. So your primary afferents have their cell bodies in the vestibular ganglia. So that's your which are located in the internal auditory meatus. So that's your primary neuronal cell, is your vestibular ganglia. Where they're going to project is they're going to enter the brainstem at the pontomedullary junction. Some fibers will not project directly onto neurons that are contained within the pontomedullary junction. Instead, what they will do is they'll bypass that and they'll directly proceed to the cerebellum. They'll synapse within the cerebellum via the inferior cerebellar peduncle. But most of these neurons coming from the vestibular ganglia are going to synapse onto vestibular nuclei. that are going to be found within the rostral, medullary, and caudal part of the pons. And so there are 4 vestibular nuclei. There's an inferior, superior, middle, and lateral. Um, I just want you to be aware of these different types of nuclei, not necessarily where they're going to project to. The vestibular nuclei receive inputs from the spinal cord, as well as cerebellum, as well as the contralateral vestibular nuclei. And so I want you to turn to slide number 13. And so these secondary projections coming from these vestibular nuclei, they're going to project to the spinal cord. So you're going to have a lateral and medial vestibular tract are coming from these vestibular nuclei. The lateral vestibular spinal tract, which is projecting ipsi, and what its function is to mediate postural changes to compensate for tilting and movement of the body. Good example is that if you were to spin yourself around really, really quickly and then you stop, you'll stagger. And what's happening is that you exaggerated the actions of the lateral vestibular tract activity. And so you can have your kid do that. They love spinning around. The medial vestibular tract, it stabilizes your head position as your body moves in terms of a function. Okay, let's turn to slide number 14. The second order projection, that is coming from the vestibular nuclei, they're going to project to the thalamus. And they're going to travel within the lateral lemniscus. Remember, you have auditory fibers that are also traveling within the lateral lemniscus. And so they're going to project to the thalamus. And then from the thalamus, you're going to get projections to the cortex, and it's going to be projecting to the parietal lobe. And then adjacent portions to the postcentral gyrus, where the head is being represented, and also to the superior temporal gyrus near the auditory cortex. Now, in order to coordinate your eye movement, you're also going to have to innervate your extraocular muscles to the eye. And so this is going to be done by this tract, the medial longitudinal fasciculus tract, which are interconnecting the abducens, the trochlear, and ocular motor nerve, ipsi as well as contralateral. The last thing is slide number 20. And so the last thing I want to leave you with the vestibular system is that the vestibular apparatus provides no information about the position of the body. This, as you remember, is provided by mechanical receptors in the neck that detect the orientation of the head relative to the body. That is proprioception. And so that's involving what? The trigeminal. Okay, and so with this, this is the material that you need to review for the final for the vestibular cochlear system.